When I was in prison, I used to go to chapel a lot. And in the chapel, hanging on the wall, was a painting, and it was made by a famous artist named Rembrandt. And I'll put it up here for you guys to see. But Rembrandt drew the painting after he was done reading the Bible. He read a certain story, it touched his heart, and so he wanted to put um, a picture to the story. And so it's a very meaningful story to me as well. I can relate to it pretty well, and so I'll read it here for you guys. It's Luke chapter 15, verse 11 to 32. Then Jesus said, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me.' So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in desolate living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has gotten him back safe and sound. Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, Listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat, so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him.' Then the father said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found." So obviously you guys should know by now that's the story of the prodigal son. And so this story means a lot to me. And if you know my story at all, you know I've spent a lot of time in prison, and my father ended up becoming terminally ill with cancer, and I had the opportunity for parole, which thankfully I was granted. And so I got to come home and take care of my dad for the last 8 months. And I always think back to when I first got off the plane. My dad was in the hospital, so I got off the plane. I go to the hospital, and I walk into the room, and at that moment, I kind of felt like the prodigal son, because I was lost and I was gone for so long. And I finally came home, and just seeing that look in my dad's eyes reminded me of when it says the father seen his son from far off and just started running. And my dad was bedridden, so he couldn't stand. But I know at that moment, if he could have, he would have jumped up and came running over to me and given me a hug. But so this story has a lot of feeling for me. Obviously, like I said, I can relate to it. Um, I finally came home. I This last line, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. Right? When I was in prison, I feel like I was dead, um, dead to because of sin. Sin had killed me. I was just living a horrible life, and I feel like I'm finally found, and I'm finally brought back to life through Jesus. And so I just wanted to share this story with you. It's a great story, and it has a lot of meaning to it. And so I hope you guys listen to it and it starts you off on the right path for your weekend. So thanks for listening, and God bless.